Welcome to Switch Moments, brought to you by Brave Switch and Young Wealth Management and Estate Planning Company Limited. For some time now, we've been talking about wills and a lot of issues that border on wills. But today, we've decided to talk on something very important that affects wills as well, and that is testamentary trust. But before I go too far, once again, my name is BTB Akeke. I'm the founder and CEO of Brave Switch and Young Wealth Management and Estate Planning Company, and also the lead partner of BSY Legal. I'm also an estate planning attorney. Now let's go back to the topic. Testamentary trust. You may want to ask, what is a testamentary trust? A testamentary trust is an arrangement that is inserted in a will whereby the testator can preserve some of the properties, some of the bequests, some of the assets for certain beneficiaries or certain purposes. But how does it work? The testator would be required to appoint certain individuals or company that would hold specific property for the beneficiaries. Now, let us make an attempt to break it down and not sound too technical. A testamentary trust, where somebody decides to make a will, for instance, and you have 3 children. The first 2 children are adults. One is, let's say, 25 years, and the other is 22 years of age. And the last of them is, give or take, let's say 10 years old. And you're making your will at the age of, let's say, 55, for instance. Now, at that point in time, you are a bit concerned as to how this 10-year-old child will be able to manage whatever property that you want to give to the child at that point in time, just in case anything happens to you after making the will. Would this child be able to manage this property? Would this child be able to make the right decisions concerning this property? If it has to do with a rental property where money is coming on an annual basis, or it has to do with an investment account where monies are paid on a quarterly basis or on a yearly basis, how would this child be able to manage his affairs? But of course, you have decided to exercise the option of writing a will. There's no need for worries. There's no need for fears or concerns. We have brought you answers to those fears. First and foremost, you have to think of making a trust in your will. So a testamentary trust simply means that you are making a trust in your will. However, the main means of distributing your asset here is by making a will. But you have also decided to put a trust in that will. What this simply means is that you would transfer all the properties, the assets, and all bequests that you want to give to that particular 10-year-old child. You can transfer it into a trust. And in that will, you would appoint a trustee to hold those assets on behalf of the child. Now, you first of all in your will have to appoint a trustee. Your executors, we've actually discussed that previously. You can check our social media handle, our YouTube page for our publication on appointing of executors. So your executors can actually be your trustee, or you can actually appoint other parties to be your trustee. Now, the trustee will hold those properties on behalf of the 10-year-old child until a particular time when you have said the property should be transferred directly to that beneficiary. So, for instance, you can say, okay, the trustees will hold this property in trust for this particular child until that child becomes, let's say, 21 years of age. Then the trustee can now transfer those properties directly to the beneficiary, and the beneficiary takes full custody of the property. Now, you may want to ask yourself, within that period of time, let's say a period of 11 years, between 10 to 21 years, within that period of time, what would the trustee be doing with the properties that you have put in his care? Essentially, the trustee's responsibility is to manage and preserve those assets on behalf of that particular beneficiary. So if it is an investment account, the trustees are supposed to ensure that the investment is properly done. They are supposed to make the right call regarding those investments. If it has to do with rental property, the trustee would make sure that yes, the rental income is coming in as frequently as it is supposed to come in. The right tenants are supposed to be taken into the property, and the property is well maintained. So the trustee takes over full responsibility of whatever assets that you have put in his care until that child becomes 21 years of age that you have instructed or stated in your will. Yes, you can use any other age that you prefer, but I'm just using 21 years as a guide. Apart from preserving properties for beneficiaries or young beneficiaries, one other reason why you may want to set up a trust in your will is because you want to preserve certain legacies for the next generation. So for instance, you have a lot of properties and you have given the ones that you can give out to specific beneficiaries. But you said, okay, you want a particular property, a particular house, a particular investment to remain in the family for at least the next, let's say, 50 years. Then you can now appoint a trustee, transfer the property to that trustee, and instruct the trustee to hold this property for a specific period of time. The trustee has no other option than to implement your instructions. Another way to look at this is where you have a need to take care of the education of a particular set of people, or maybe you have a scholarship fund, or you have grandchildren and you are very skeptical or afraid that your grandchildren might not be able to go to school the way you have trained your own children. You can actually set up a trust in your will. Instead of giving your children specific benefits for your grandchildren, you can set up a trust and put those assets that you want to give to your grandchildren in the trust, so that the trustees can manage it until that point in time comes when your grandchildren starts to go to school. Then the trustee is saddled with the responsibility of paying the school fees of your grandchildren until they graduate from university. Then that trust can now terminate. So the benefits of having a testamentary trust in your will is enormous. There are so many things that you can achieve by setting up a testamentary trust. There are some of us that have children that are not so good with spending. They spend at will, and it scares you, and you ask yourself, if I leave my properties in the hands of these children right now, I don't think they can manage it. And you might just want to say, okay, let me write my will and set up a testamentary trust whereby I can put these assets in care of a trustee and instruct the trustee to pay monthly or yearly sums to the beneficiaries, to your children, until a particular point in time comes when you think or believe that they would have been able to become mature, to mature enough to take care of themselves and their responsibilities. Then the trustee can transfer the assets directly to them. So there are many advantages of setting up a testamentary trust. For more information, feel free to contact us. Our website address, email address, phone numbers are shown on this video, and we will be willing to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for watching this video.